Welcome back to Radio Row at the New Orleans Convention Center. It's the Moj, Bob Marjanovich. This is the Northwest Tank Line Super Bowl show coming to you from New Orleans, site of Super Bowl 59 between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. Our next two guests are a pair of former Baltimore Ravens. One of them has a Super Bowl ring, and we are here to talk about Caddix cleats. Todd Heap, former Raven, two-time Pro Bowler, played 10 seasons with the Ravens, 1 year with the Cardinals. Dennis Pitta, Super Bowl champion, 6 years with the Baltimore Ravens. Guys, welcome.
Thank you.
Great to be on with you.
I got to tell you one thing. I've known Chad Steele. This is my 23rd Super Bowl.
Unfortunately for you.
My very first Super Bowl was the one in Tampa when Baltimore coach Billick and the crew, that defense, knocked off the Giants. Why does Chad Steele not age? Your PR guy.
Oh, he's aged quite a bit. I mean, you must not be around him every day to see it happen. We were around him every day to see it happen. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You guys throwing him under the bus like that?
Listen, hair dye will do a lot for your youth. Chad, and when you don't take care of yourself like Chad doesn't, it's easy to age fast.
And if the listener doesn't know who Chad Steele is, he's the guy that's standing behind. He's the guy that wants to be in front of the camera.
Oh yeah.
But he's the guy behind every quarterback. In the end, there's probably a website for Chad Steele. Who's the guy in the background?
Where's Waldo at the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I can't tell you how many times I've seen a game and it's like Lamar and there's Chad like 5 feet away, right?
We definitely know there's a bunch of group texts going on in the background with all the players texting Chad how bad he looks out there, but
Chad knows where the cameras are and he positions himself right in front of them.
Oh wow, you guys are like.
But Chad's a good guy.
He's
we
a
like
good
Chad.
guy. Todd, tell us about Caddix cleats.
Caddix cleats. It's a company that we got. Dennis and I and Joe Flacco got involved in about 8 months ago. I saw it on social media, and I reached out to the CEO and founder of this company because I was so impressed. And I thought, in the back of my head, if this is real and this works, this is going to change cleated sports forever. I thought of my first injury against the Pittsburgh Steelers, my first major ankle injury, and my cleat completely stuck in the field turf. It was the first year in Baltimore where we'd gone from grass to field turf. We're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jonathan Ogden takes their 350-pound defensive tackle and buries him into my knee. My cleat didn't move, and my knee and ankle did, and changed the course of my career. I tore my ankle. I ended up getting surgery after that season, but I thought back to that, and I was like, what if I had a little bit of movement in that cleat? And that's what Caddix cleats is. This is something that each individual stud, I kind of explain it like it's a labrum in your shoulder or your hip, and the cleat can move and swivel and rotate. And the impetus, the idea behind it is to take that rotational force off of your knees and ankles. And so there's an added level of protection of safety when your cleat doesn't get stuck in the ground. And it's been impressive to see how it's progressed. This is the first year that they've been. We've had 20 guys in the NFL that are wearing them. But yeah, it's been impressive to see the results and the feel and the feedback from a lot of the guys that have been wearing them.
Do you know the one thing you talk about ankles? I'm thinking even knees.
Oh no, it's knees, ankles. Right? It's all your lower extremities. Yeah. Any of those non-contact injuries that happen to your knees or ankles, they stem from the rotational force put on those joints and ligaments. And this is created, and we've done a lot of testing on it to reduce that rotational force. And so it's been impressive.
How's the project gone in terms of sales? You guys doing well?
We've only had sales for 2 months. So we've obviously got them on a lot of athletes, women's soccer players, women's lacrosse players, men's football, men's lacrosse. And we've only been doing sales for a couple months, but it's been impressive. We've sold a lot of shoes so far.
Good price point on it?
Good price point. For these, I mean, there's obviously some more IP that goes into it, and these are not your normal cleats where you can just set a mold and make a mold. There's a lot that goes into this, so they're a little more expensive than some cleats, but there's also an added level of health and safety involved in it too. And
so you're doing all the talking. Is Dennis kind of like he's like the model or something?
Dennis is the model. No, Dennis can speak to this fairly well. I was gonna let him do the talking because he likes to so much, but You asked me.
I'm just a younger, better-looking kind of version of Todd, so I just kind of sit here and let him
I taught him everything he knows. You know, in 1 year, I had 1 year to do it, and it taught him quite a bit. So go ahead, Dennis.
Todd and I did overlap. My rookie year was Todd's last year in Baltimore, and Todd taught me a lot. Todd's been my mentor, if you will, in the sport, and I owe a lot to Todd. Todd's also been the one that first showed me Caddix. So like he mentioned, he saw it on Instagram. He saw it on social media and was really intrigued by it. Reached out to our founder and CEO, Jack Rasmussen, and they had a conversation about it. Todd told me about it. We inevitably brought Joe Flacco into the mix. Joe's been wearing them all year. He started in training camp and preseason, wore them throughout the course of the season. Joe loves them. And like Todd mentioned, we have about 20 NFL athletes right now that wore them for much of the season. You have guys from Juan Thornhill, the starting safety for the Browns, to Matthew Judon coming off the edge for the Atlanta Falcons. And so a lot of different positions, a lot of guys with different skill sets, and the feedback has been tremendous from all of them about this cleat. And I think as a former athlete and somebody who's worn cleats their whole life, it's certainly something that's intriguing because cleats have not been innovated in decades. And the molds change a little bit on the bottoms, but there's really been nothing that's advanced when it comes to footwear. And so I think this is the first huge innovation that we've seen in cleats in a really long time. And that's what struck me the most. And so when we first looked at this product, okay, the studs move. There's an injury prevention component to that. That's awesome. But can I feel that? Is it going to slip? Does it work? We had all of those questions, and there's been extensive testing. There's been tons of research. This is about 10 years in the making with research and development and all the stuff that's gone into this cleat. And like Todd mentioned, we've only really been selling them for a couple months and just barely this season have got this product on, professional athletes and athletes across all different sports, women's soccer, men's and women's lacrosse, obviously football. And the feedback has been awesome.
Well, I do the play-by-play for the CFL team in BC. I'll tell our trainers to look into this. Some of the guys.
So we were in Charlotte a couple weeks ago, and there's a big coaches convention and expo as part of that. Yeah, and we talked to all of the CFL.
Oh, awesome!
The CFL equipment managers. Yeah. They were all flocking to our booth, and so. That's definitely something that we're going to push in that league for sure.
We're talking with Todd Heap, Dennis Pitta, former Baltimore Ravens. And both of them played tight end, which leads me into my next question. Mark Andrews, when he drops that pass, I mean, you guys are smiling, but I know deep down inside, you guys it must have killed you, right?
Oh, our hearts sunk. In fact, I think we called each other shortly after that game. But, yeah, my heart sunk, not just for Mark, not just for the Ravens, for the fan base, and for my boys who love the Ravens, but for Mark as well. He's been such a sure-handed tight end, and obviously you never want that to happen in those situations. I'm not worried about Mark going forward because he's a stud. He's proven he's had a phenomenal career up to this point, and he'll continue to. But obviously unfortunate. Wasn't the reason the sole reason they lost the game, but unfortunate for that moment.
Well,
in the
game.
game.
Reason I brought it up is the fact that the guy's an outstanding tight end. He's had an outstanding career. But much like there's a guy that played when I was a kid. I don't know if you ever heard of a guy named Jackie Smith, tight end for the Cowboys, dropped the ball in the end zone. And that's what people remember Jackie Smith for, never mind the career that he had. And I just hope that, with Mark Andrews, people remember what this guy has done before and what he'll do after, because his career shouldn't be defined by that, yet there's going to be people out there that's the only thing they think of with Mark Andrews, right?
Yeah, and that's the hope. The hope isn't that he won't be remembered. His legacy won't be tied to that unfortunate play. I mean, we've all dropped a pass in our careers. You don't want it to happen in those moments. And you just hope, like Todd said, we just were out in Baltimore a couple weeks ago. We took a picture with Mark Andrews. He's a friend. He's a great guy. And so when you watch that play unfold, your stomach just drops, and you feel terrible for the individual because you know what he's going to go through emotionally, just beating himself up over not being able to make that play and letting his team down in that moment. And it's just such a difficult feeling. And, unfortunately, it's something that he's going to have to deal with through the course of this offseason. And I hope he comes back stronger and better than ever and has a great year next year. But it's just unfortunate that, people are going to remember that specific play for the reason they lost. And there's so many other factors that go into wins and losses. There's so many other plays that you can point to The Ravens had 3 total turnovers in that game, 2 in the first half. And there was a number of penalties and missed tackles and other drop balls that happened throughout the course of that game that you could point to just as easily as that play. But unfortunately, that's the one that's going to be remembered.
Talking some football and Caddix cleats. We'll get into that as we wrap it up. Todd Heap, former Raven, as well as Dennis Pitta. Guys, I've asked this question to a few people because the Ravens, a lot of people, I picked them to be in the Super Bowl this year. Lord knows I've never been wrong. What's it going to take for that team to get over the hump and get into the big game and win it?
Well, I think first and foremost, they have to stop beating themselves in these postseason games. And that's really been their Achilles heel. They've committed turnovers at the wrong times. They've had drop passes. They've had penalties. They have beat themselves in these games. And I think back to last year in the AFC Championship game in Baltimore against the Kansas City Chiefs. And if it weren't for a fumble on the 1-inch line at the end of that game, the Ravens probably beat the Chiefs and go on to the Super Bowl last year. And then you look at this year's game, and if it isn't for a dropped pass, if it isn't for a -3 turnover differential in that game, the Bills did not turn the ball over, and the Ravens had 3 turnovers. If it wasn't for those plays, the Ravens probably beat the Bills in Buffalo. And so it's self-inflicted wounds that are hurting the Ravens right now in the postseason that haven't hurt them in the regular seasons. I mean, like you, I would have picked them to go to the Super Bowl. They were playing great football at the right time. They were hot, which is exactly what you want to be doing as you enter this January and into February stretch. And unfortunately, they hurt themselves.
Todd, you agree with that?
I do. It'll be interesting to see what happens between now and next year. There's no two teams that will ever be the same. And so there's going to be some turnover. But they have a lot of components in place that you can build a championship team with. Like I said, it's just a matter of making those plays when it counts. Derrick Henry has been a phenomenal addition to the team. You've got Lamar Jackson's not going to change. He's going to be spectacular. You've got a lot of things that are consistently great on the Ravens football team. Like I said, it's just going to come down to can they main that? Can they put a team together next year that can do the same thing and go take that same run and then make those plays when it counts?
Well, and here's one thing. If you have Lamar Jackson, you have a chance.
Of course.
100%.
Any dog in the fight come Sunday? Any friends that you'd like to see maybe?
Yeah.
Any connections?
I'll be rooting. Listen, and we have friends on both sides of the coin. I'm a big Andy Reid fan. I went to BYU. Andy's a BYU guy. Mm-hmm. That's where he got his start. And I always have rooted for the Chiefs and for Andy. But I have a close personal friend, Kellen Moore, who's the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. He was a neighbor of ours just last year as he was coaching for the Chargers out in L.A. And close family friend. Our kids are all friends. And so it was sad to actually see that whole group get fired in L.A. and him take this position up here in Philly. But, man, he's done a great job with those Eagles and their offense and could be the head coach here in New Orleans in a couple weeks. Who knows? It's certainly trending that direction. But I think I'll be rooting for the Eagles because of Kellen.
Todd?
Opposite. I'll be rooting for the – no, I'm the same way. I'm a big Andy Reid fan. Yeah. He's a guy that's a special human being. He's been I remember at the Combine before my rookie year, he was a guy that amongst all the chaos you're getting pulled in every which direction. He pulled me into the room when he was with the Philadelphia Eagles and basically said, hey, I'm just pulling you out of here just because he's, you see every runner, every scout, trying to pull you in this direction. Just take a break. Let's just hang out and talk. And ever since then, we've had a relationship where he'll reach out to me, he'll send me a text, I'll send him a text, whatever. But he's been a guy that's been as good to me as any football coach in the NFL, and so I appreciate that.
I think in any sport, and I've heard this a lot of times in hockey and in football, mainly two sports that I cover, but those coaches that take a personal interest in you as a human being, those are the guys that a lot of guys connect with and want to play for, right?
And you
Not
see
all
that.
about X's and O's. It's about, hey, how's your family doing? How's your wife doing?
You see that in his players. You see that in guys that have played for him in the past. You see guys, there's not a lot of bad things said about Andy Reid. Guys know that he cares. They know how much work, they know how good he is as well. And so he's just impressive all the way around, and it's hard for me to root against him.
Awesome. Hey, guys, before we let you go, again, people want more info on your cleats. How do they go about it?
Caddix.com. Go to Caddix.com, or you can see it on Instagram at Caddix. And, yeah, there's a lot out there. We've got a lot of videos and content on social media, see all the guys that have been wearing them, and then you can go see the studies and the research and everything about why they were made on Caddix.com.
Guys, great stuff. Thanks for stopping by, and continued success with your project, Caddix Cleats.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us on.